And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Lyceum evening, coming to you from the Paul Christian Spiritualist Church on the south coast of the UK. Great delight to welcome back a lovely lady who I've had I nearly said a lot of entanglement with, but that doesn't quite sound right, does it?
I think that sums it up.
Yeah. We've worked together quite a lot and good friends, and we talk. So we've got the lovely Angela Foster, DSNU, with us tonight. Good evening, Angela.
Oh, hello, Laurie, once again. I keep nagging you that I want to share this communication with you because I know we always have so much to talk about. Are you all right? Do you want to get some water? Actually, do you want a glass of gin?
A glass of gin would be lovely.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
I have a coffee, but thank you.
Yeah, we're so looking forward to joining you tonight and discussing something which seems to be the buzzword, yet we would never admit to us being affected by it. It's always somebody else's problem, don't you think, Laurie?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. It's very easy to go, oh, look at the ego. Look what they're doing. Look what they're doing. But often we need to turn that mirror on ourselves, do we not? And just go, well, what am I doing then? How do I come across? So tonight's topic is we're talking about the ego and the ego within spiritual, do we need it? Does it get too involved? Does current day marketing encourage the ego state? How do we stay on the right side of it? And then is it inevitable as a sign off of success? And I'm reading from your notes here, Angela. You may realise that.
It did sound familiar.
Yes.
With early thoughts.
But no, there's really good questions. I'll start off if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I've always said we need an ego to be able to stand up in front of people. Because that is not everybody's natural state of being. And so you need that certain something to be able to stand up in front of people. And I know people say, oh, it's all right, spirit will do it for me. And that really irritates me, that saying. Because all my time, spirit have helped me do everything, but they've never actually stepped in and done it for me yet. But I am open to that potential. So we do need a bit of an ego to do what we do. But it's that borderline, isn't it? It's between having that ego to present in public before that becomes egotistical and then becomes a new master that we have to serve and keep maintaining as well. What's your thoughts?
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, we have this odd idea that on one side we allow the spirit world to do absolutely everything, whether it's teaching a class of students or whether it's giving a demonstration or they'll give it to us in trance or whatever. And on the other hand, we take no responsibility for what we might add to that equation, but we'll take all the praise. So there is this dichotomy of, we'll take the praise, thank you, we're doing a great job, you can pat me on the back, and yet expect the spirit world to be working us like puppets in the background. And neither is going to help us long term, not with our relationships, not with the way that we we work as mediums, and I think more importantly what our spiritual development is all about. Ego is important. I think most psychologists would say we need ego, despite the fact that the greatest fear that most Americans have apparently is standing up in front of people and talking. So we do need a little bit of that bravado. What do they say? What's it till you fake it till you make it? It's when you pass that stage of faking it till you make it and you suddenly think, I've arrived, I've got it. And we have seen that happen with many mediums who particularly rely on, it's going to sound really harsh, rely on mediumship to provide them with a career. I'm not so sure this happens so much if it's not career-based. What do you think?
I do agree there. We're always going to have this eternal thing of you shouldn't take money because it's a gift argument, which is all very twee and very romantic. Number one, it's not a gift. Angela, did you wake up one morning and you were suddenly a medium?
No. In fact, this is probably the last journey I wished ever to take.
Very quickly, just a quick hello to everybody tuning in tonight. Welcome. There is a gentleman in particular, Mr. Frank Kelly. Good evening, sir. It's very nice of you to join us. And I'd be interested to hear your points of view, because Frank is also a medium and a composer. And I think that's a beautiful marriage of the two abilities there. And obviously with tonight's talk about ego, presentation, how you manage it, I think Frank's going to have some really salient points to share with us if he wishes to. So good evening, Frank. But getting back to what you were saying there, I have people come to me and say, oh, I want to learn to be a medium. And the inevitable thing is, so you want to give up 40 Sundays a week, miss out on family occasions, end up doing hours of frustrating travel. And how many millionaire mediums do we know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So
and I think those that we really respect stay grounded. Unfortunately, with ego comes flight, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if we're staying grounded and understand that this gift needs nurturing, it needs a desire, it needs a respect. If we use those sort of words rather than where it's going to get us in our own right, then we may just stay grounded. But sometimes you can feel your feet come off the ground and you're flying a little bit and you think, isn't this fun? And something will happen to knock you back down to the ground, where staying grounded is a really good word for what we should be doing.
Very much so. Lovely Jamie Williamson. Good evening, Jamie. And he says the only gift in mediumship is the gift of giving to others.
Yeah.
Nicely put, Jamie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's this frustration in developing mediums. I was having this conversation the other day that so often when we get people coming in who are totally brand new to this, never tried anything, and they can walk in and sit down in a circle and suddenly pull out of the air the most amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
A number of times I've sat there and somebody said something and I'm looking at them going, wow.
Yes.
Wow, I would have been really chuffed to have got that, but wow. So where does that crossover become from being just totally open-minded? And I think this is probably part of the key to it. These people coming in, brand new to it, no idea what's going on. So with no idea of what's going on, there are no boundaries. We've not put any of the blinkers on yet. So it's just sort of like, oh, tell me something. And they just come out with something brilliant. But somewhere along the line, we start to put our wants, put our barriers up, because I want to be a clairvoyant, for instance, or I only work clairsentiently. You know, and when we're saying these things to each other and to ourselves, more importantly, you know, what about the spirit world? I just want to be a good servant to the spirit world. I don't care how they're going to use me. They can do any which way they want to use me. Is absolutely fine. But I think sometimes we just start to bring in these little, we start to narrow our vision with things that we tell ourselves.
I absolutely agree. And the problem is, as soon as we forget that we're part of a team, I always call it the triumvirate. You know, there's us, there's our recipient, there's maybe a congregation, it may be the rest of the world viewing us, and there's a spirit world. So it's really a triumvirate with viewers. That once we forget that this is a team and we're just a captain for those few minutes managing this energy with however it's going to be presented, then we probably stay on the right side of ego. The minute we forget that this is a team discipline and think that we're running the show, then that's when the dynamic changes and we forget who we are and why we're doing it. So if we can stay with that in mind, that, okay, you know, we brought the team with us tonight and we thank the team at the end. Sometimes we scream and shout at them going, okay, you know, that was a bit painful, or that didn't quite go the way we had hoped, or that wasn't quite the public display we wanted to have. But as soon as we can give feedback to ourselves about our delivery and recognize that it's part of a bigger dynamic, then we probably stay on the right side of ego.
And that is such an important part. I've had a few days, especially in the earlier days, where I've come out and going, that's it, I'm not working for you anymore. That was awful, you know. And by the time I've come home, the realization has sunk in that actually it was my fault.
Yes.
It was obstinate Lawrence had surfaced, or
yes, yeah. But the interesting thing is, you mentioned it at the beginning, and I don't know whether it was you adding something that I'd written. I can't remember where it came from, but we were talking about, is the marketing hype leading us down that road of being egotistical in order to get that audience or that congregation, or, you know, to fill that room, or, you know, I have no idea how many are watching us on stream because you've got the host facility. But, you know, if you want to be noticed and recognized, does marketing strategies not recognize this team approach? Because we never see advertised, me and my team are going to present an evening of mediumship. It's me, myself, moi, isn't it? I'm going to do it. So we're heading ourselves up all the time with this marketing hype to say, I'm it, you know, but we also take the fall. You know?
Yeah. And you touch on something there that's quite interesting. We've been talking about the numbers. That in social media world, this becomes the paramount thing. And as we know, and especially not so much nowadays because people are not using platforms such as this or Facebook Live for Dems. But when at the height, when every platform was being used, people were saying, wow, I got 18,000 people, you know, 1,800, sorry, commenting. But it wasn't comments. It was only, you know, heart, flower, pray. It was just people just doing that. But we've just had this focus, this obsession going, oh, wow, look at all these people.
And I've given 10,000 messages in half an hour. I'm just going to turn my lights on because suddenly, I don't know whether it's going to rain. It's got very dark in here in Cambridgeshire.
50p for the meter.
Yes. Is that better?
Yes, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Goes off the wallpaper a treat.
Ah, yes. Sorry, you may have noticed I spilt some ice cream down me earlier, so I'm holding everything up high.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
Saving some for later. Thanks to the 6-year-old. So yeah, it's difficult. We are setting ourselves up to fail, unfortunately, with the way that we need to advertise. And you know, we think it's about numbers, so quantity over quality. And it's not, is it? I mean, some of my best demonstrations have been with the smallest groups. The energy has been phenomenal. The people have been there because they want to be, because they have a real understanding and a love for everybody getting a message, not just for themselves. And some of the most awkward environments have been where you're flipping through 3 or 4 pages. Maybe they're best for the live demonstrations. I don't know. I haven't quite decided because I don't do any live. I only do online. So I haven't quite decided what makes that magic space to make us work at our best, our most honest, our purest, and not have to rely on ego to get us through the evening. What do you think?
When we're talking about live in-person working, it's a bit of a tightrope at times that we walk. I mean, we've got to get a lot of things sort of like in line. We've got to feel quite confident and able to go and to work in different places. The energy in different places. Now, I'm always one to say to all of my students, you are responsible for your own energy. You do not blame anybody else.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. You can tell the churches and centres and places where you're asked to work, if, for example, if there's any strong educational theme and vibration. Or is it, well, thank you, Angela, that was a lovely dem. Next week we've got a wonderful medium, you know, and that endless conveyor belt of messages. So it takes a lot of self-discipline. Now, I know some people might say I'm a bit headstrong. I don't know where they get that from. It's ridiculous.
Ask
Anyway.
the cat. Ask the cat.
I know.
They'll give you
but it did take me a lot of time to learn, because I was going into places, and I'll be honest, and within 2 minutes of being in there thinking, yeah, I'm not going to enjoy this. And of course, that was it. That was my mindset set. For, you know, I'd be like, oh, this is going to be awful. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, it was awful. So I've been working really, really hard, and I was tested very recently. I thought, okay, you're here to do the job. Shut your mouth, Lawrence, and let the team talk. And actually, it was a really, really good evening. I am one of my own worst critics, and I know, and I keep saying to people, we must get out of this habit. We're the first to beat ourselves up as mediums when we come away from a dem, be it live or virtual. But we should also bring in that acknowledgement of where we did well. It's very easy to go, oh, I missed that, I didn't do that, I didn't. And before we know it, all we're doing is self-criticizing all the time. So we've got to bring that balance in, of going, okay, well, I could have done that better, but that was great. That was a nugget. Oh, wow, thank you for that part. So with the lives now, the in-person dems, is getting into that state of mind of expecting nothing. Just turning up and going, right, I'm booked in. The team know I'm booked in. I will go turn up and I will work to our best ability. And that's it. And I'm not going to be swayed by anything. Just keep that connection in and those people. And, you know, you do get it. Unfortunately, some people either want to take control of your mediumship. Oh no, you mean, so don't stay with me.
I saw a student do that the other day, actually, on a final assessment board, and I thought he just overstepped the boundary of, you know, being in charge. I thought, well, you're going to have to rein it back a little bit, otherwise you're going to put people off and think, you know it all. But it was an interesting dialogue that he had, like who's in charge. Basically, he said on 2 or 3 occasions, who's in charge of this relationship? And I'm thinking, if you think it's you, mate, you're not, because often it's the audience in charge, and you've got to navigate around that, you know.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult one to get right, and to respect. It's all about respecting your team, and it's once you lose that respect because you think that you're greater or you're better, or you know that they should be glad that you're there, then to be honest, you're no longer enjoying it, because ego and feeling proud of what you've done don't necessarily sit together. Or perhaps I ought to say having pride in what you've done rather than being proud. Would that make more sense?
I think that's a much smoother way of saying it.
Yeah.
As I said, I worked recently, and it was a hard slog. It was a hard slog. Just for different reasons, it was a hard slog. But the next morning, when I was thinking about it, I thought, well, actually, you know what? That was really good. That part was really good. That worked very well. All right, you had that. That's fine. You know, you're always going to have that. But you did the job. And that's what I always say with people. As long as you do the job with the other world. And that's the most important thing. Because when we try to control the situation, then we are coming from a thought-based action. And then once we get into our own thinking action, then we are not listening.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then we become, if ever we get to that stage, and it's like doing a job, when you become complacent, then take a break. Use whatever excuse you like and pull out for 3 months, because there's no room for complacency in this field. And I think we've noticed that when things have got too tough, suddenly our diary becomes empty. Why does that happen? Maybe because we haven't got the strength to say, okay, this is stopping for a reason. Just as the gift doesn't manifest itself until all your what's are in a row. What's the expression? All your pieces are in a row. Yeah, I think the opposite also happens. I think that when they start cascading down for health, for just the living of life, then we should understand that a break is needed. We cannot give of our best. We cannot give of our best. And if we can't give of our best, then it's time to pull out. But the problem is many people feel so committed to that diary, which they've so filled up, they lose the ability to say, I need, not I want, but I need time out. You know, and that's really sad, because the one thing that we should respect of our mediums is when they know that they need to stop. And if we're being intuitive, you can sometimes see this happen before they do, because ill health, dis-ease, creating disease.
Yeah.
I mean, you do really have to be on top form to do this job properly.
You've got to be in that wonderful, peaceful place, and the place of balance and harmony. You know, when you're in that place and everything flows, but when we have to start really making the effort, or as I've experienced recently with this particularly horrible cough, I'd started taking this cough medicine. I didn't read the instructions very well. And apparently it turns out it's also a bit like loopy juice. And I did think, my thinking's a bit off. So there's Lawrence getting hacked up on cough syrup before he went out and worked. I'm like, probably not the best thing I could have done. But yeah, it's getting into that. Yeah, it is. It's all about balance again, isn't it? And balance is such an important thing in our life in many, 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 many areas. But if we're happy and we go out and we do what we can do when we can do it, that takes any pressure away. Because I'm pretty sure that if you're starting to think, oh God, I've got 3 dems to do next week, again, you know, the mind is the navigator, as Mark says. So immediately you're on that wrong foot.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we don't like letting people down, but to be honest, I think we have to, you know, we were taught, certainly, have it, medium, got nothing else. Sorry?
Sherry Ann's asking there, has any mediums on platform got nothing? So has anyone stood up there and gone, haven't got anything?
I did that. That happened once recently, and I actually, I was in a Zoom meeting, and I knew somebody was a medium, so I sort of said, what would you like to add to this conversation? And it only took this person to finish off and complete one message for me to take that breather and then get back on form. But it was, the thing is, you have to know what are your strategies going to be if that happens. If plan A doesn't go right, what's your plan B going to be? And this is where structure and discipline and education and helps, because you don't learn this by reading a book. You've got to know what works in different situations. But yes, I did say, this isn't, I'm blanking. Would anybody like to join me on this? And to be honest, people don't mind vulnerability. They'd rather have that than lose respect for you, because they know that you're just pulling anything out of Yeah.
Yeah. I've got your grandmother here. She loved cooking. Just fudging things.
She had 3 legs and 4 arms. Oh, there's 4 of you that can take that. Funny that,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely Ashley and says, as a medium, we have to leave our ego at home, not just in the chair before standing with spirit. Woo.
That's intent. That's all about intent, isn't it?
It is. It is. That is so important.
Yeah.
Lovely Moya. Good evening, my darling. I totally agree. You need to be as well as much as possible to do this work well. Lovely to hear you both. So
Well,
thank you, Moya.
That's lovely. Obviously, these are from like-minded souls who've been there and done it and got the T-shirts.
Yeah, yeah. But and again, this is the thing, isn't it? This is one of the good sides of our spiritualism becoming into the virtual world. But as mediums or workers, whatever we do, we can actually connect now. Because pre-2020, it was very lonely.
Yes.
Trail being a medium. You know, I know your development is a lone journey, but it need not be alone.
Yeah.
But now we can have, like we are tonight, you know, we're talking hundreds of miles apart, having a wonderful time. There are people here from the UK and Europe and beyond joining in on it. So it's a great opportunity now that we can share these thoughts. And it's amazing when people go, oh, God, yeah, I used to get that. Or, oh, yeah, I'll do that.
And sometimes share their strategies because, it is mostly that you get a strategy through experience, what works and what doesn't. And part of our intuitive sense will help us navigate that. We are sensitives for a reason. And when we lose that sensitivity, that is the time when ego kicks in. While we remain slightly vulnerable, yet grateful for the most amazing, I'm not grateful for the gift because that's a bit coy, but grateful for the wonderful opportunity that some of us get to share this understanding and knowledge, then just that wonderment, like going into that sweetie shop for the first time, if you actually own the sweetie shop and were in there all the time, you probably would get very bored of sweets. But if it could be just kept on the right side of, this is amazing, and I want to share how wonderful this is with other people, that excitement which people feel very often when they go into a demonstration and sense that energy is what we should be reaching to share.
Very true. Very true. And I love it when you get through, just something, say out of the blue, but something comes up and you're like, wow, wow, oh, wow.
Where did that come from? As if we didn't know.
Exactly, yeah. Where did that come from? This is a great name. Binky Boo Bosh.
Oh, love it. Yeah, number one. There's only one. There's only one.
There's only one Binky Boo Bosh. Fair enough. I've seen mediums that have come up with nothing. Some deal with this with humility, whilst others try to convince the congregation that is their fault. Yeah, or worse still, spirits.
Yeah. Blame everybody else.
Yeah.
Blame everybody else. It's just, this is again a sign that ego has taken over. Well, of course the message is with you. I know it's with you. Well, we may know that deep down, but we don't have to ram it down the recipient's throat who isn't able to recognize the information in that moment, but may well later. I had a really unusual situation a few weeks ago, and I'm happy to share it. I actually came out with a very, very strong word that the father of a recipient had to give to the daughter. And it was much stronger than I would normally use. And to be honest, it had escaped my lips. Although I did give an initial, and then I did say, do you, and they didn't know who it was. I said, right, if you want the word, I'll give it to you. And it was a very strong word. And this troubled me for a few days because I thought, normally I'm very guarded about what I say and how I say it. And there are different ways of presenting it. So I went back to the lady a couple of days later and I said, look, I'm really sorry. She said, well, it did throw me a little bit, but she said you were spot on. And one of the people that needed to hear that was actually in the congregation with me. So it was the father having a very strong word for a reason. Now, we have no idea about the impact of words. Most of the time, we keep them very, very neutral. But there is a power in what we have, what we do, and what we share. And sometimes we have to respect that it's going to escape us. It's, however much we want to mute it and to, in a public environment, to be more careful. Sometimes, and I'm sure I'm not the only one here, when you think, flaming hell, I shouldn't maybe have said that. That's why I followed it up. But in fact, it was what would not have been said in a private sitting, because the dynamic would have changed. The people wouldn't have been present. So sometimes it does surprise us and it can shock us. And it's still allowing the humility to say, okay, I'm going to get feedback on that. I want to make sure that this person's okay. And I have no idea whether it'll happen again. That shows that we're just a channel for the spirit world. I didn't use bad language, but I used quite strong language. And I took responsibility for what I said, and I contacted the lady to make sure she was all right. But the thing is, that for me is where ego hasn't crossed the line.
Yeah. I've seen instances in the dim and distant past where things have been said from the platform should never have been said.
Yeah.
And the default saying is, well, that's what Spirit said. Yeah, but it came out of your mouth, so you're responsible.
Yeah.
You said that lovely there, that I'm responsible.
Yeah.
It is my responsibility. So that's quite true. So, yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Binky Boo Bosh. That's brilliant.
Love it.
Lovely Maggie Baker. And she's asking, have you found that sometimes when you haven't really wanted to go and work, that turns out to be an excellent demonstration?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's common. I'd love to know how that works. There must be a formula to that so we can replicate it. But yeah, there are a couple of times you just think, oh, God, why did I say yes? Why am I doing this? And you come out and go, that's brilliant. And
usually because you're not feeling 100%. So there's that side of you that says, look, I'm really not feeling up to this emotionally, physically. I've had an argument with the other half, or the kids have really played me up today, or actually I've really twisted my ankle very badly. Too late to actually bring somebody else in if you are treating your chair with respect and not trying to freak them out. Somehow you find that power within you. And yes, it can work. I wouldn't like to rely on that all the time. I hope that would be the exception rather than the norm, because I'm quite a fragile little old lady, coming up to be another set of 10s quite shortly, and really my heart, my blood pressure medication won't take that sort of stress. But I absolutely agree with you that there are times when you've committed yourself and it's too late to back down. I remember once when I was giving a demonstration many years ago on the DSNU, and I'll never forget it. The cat was really very poorly, and you'd recognize this, Laurie. And basically she was on her way out. And halfway through, my husband called me from upstairs and said, you're going to have to come down. I think we're losing her. And I passed the demonstration over to the chair. And you remember these occasions when you weren't 100%. You remember them when life took over, when you didn't have the option to be in a perfect space and a perfect frame of mind. But that's what the teaching of mediumship to a professional level actually will prepare us to know how to deal with. And she did last a little bit longer, but not much. She was nearly 20, or she was just 20. So, she had had a good innings, but it was a painful decision. Well, I knew I had to make, but I knew also what I had to do, and that was to pass it over. Like when you come up with a complete blank, have the humility to accept that you need to pull out, and not try and fight on and win a battle that is not going to be won. It's not even a battle that you could win. It's a battle that you're not going to win. Yeah. Does anybody else want to share any experiences that they've had of when it's gone gloriously wrong, despite decent preparation? We can do the Mayor Cooper, Mayor Maxima Cooper here if you like. We can all give each other confessional.
My nemesis seems to be the trains. On several occasions. In fact, today was just a nightmare journey both ways. But I've had it before where you turn up and there's no train. Or even worse, and this is the thing that really annoys me intensely, is I get to do the DEM, as I did the other week. I was down in Weymouth, which is about 30, 40 miles from here. Got down there, fine. We had buses in the middle, that's all right, not a problem. Got there, did the DEM, wonderful evening, thank you very much. 4.5 hours later, Lawrence still wasn't at home. Oh. I was fuming. I was absolutely jumping up and down because I just thought, because what do we do automatically? Why?
I'm doing your job. The least you can do is to get me home.
I worked really hard for you tonight. Get me home.
You hadn't called in. They hadn't called in the right angels to get you home. You know, like you called in the traffic angels. You hadn't called in the train angels to get you home. It does work. I've tried it.
It was the train planning angel because the replacement bus was designed to arrive 5 minutes after the train departed from the Midway station. And then the one after that got cancelled. So we had to wait 2 hours in the middle of nowhere. Furious. Never mind.
But this is the sort of thing that could then affect how we take on work going on, because then you become a little bit cautious. Well, I don't want to do that or I don't want to go to that church because I'm going to have too hard a time. Or I'm not going to take that journey because really it's far too far. And these poor churches, many of whom are really struggling to get mediums. As you said, a lot of similar churches in a small environment, all fighting for the same mediums who don't want to travel more than an hour and a half each way. And you can understand then why so much has gone online. But then you can't understand why it's also coming offline, which is a bit surprising. But we are putting so many hurdles in our way to working with spirit, whatever those hurdles are, whether it's traveling, whether it's the group dynamic, whether it's just living. The spirit world must get really tired and then you want to add ego on the top of that. Give us a chance. Give us a chance. That's why we've got so many of you coming out of the stable at the same time. There must be someone who can master the course.
That is so true. And we have created, and this is down to us, the churches and centres, we've created this huge demand. I'm just trying to tot up in my cough syrup induced addled head here. 1, 2, 3, 50, 150, 225. A rough count. Locally, there is a demand for 275 mediums every year. Between the churches, between the different services. And that makes, that is a huge demand, a huge pressure on, bless them, the booking secretary. Oh God, the worst job in the world, the booking secretary. Hats off to every booking secretary. Whatever you do is going to be wrong, you know that. So they should put that on the resume. Rule number 1, whatever you do will be wrong. Don't worry about it. But yeah, we've created this huge demand for working evidential mediums. And you'll get some, I see some mediums, they seem to be doing every service under the sun and more.
I mean, that's the other thing, isn't it? I mean, to go to any one place more than 3 or 4 times a year is risking the quality of your mediumship, because you begin to remember and get to know people. And so this becomes really tough. You know, how do you respect that ignorance is bliss in order that you give the best demonstration, compared to, well, they love me, they like having me back, you know, they're really happy to see me, and can I say no? So we do put ourselves in that vulnerable position to maybe not be able to give the best because we are being bled dry. I'm going to put that strongly.
Yeah.
Out of need, out of desperation, out of sheer panic that there's not going to have a medium standing in front there when a congregation from anything from 3 to 300 is turning up. Yeah. Would you agree?
No, I do agree with that. I have my, it's not a rule because it's a bit flexible. 1, possibly 2 engagements a year in the same place, and that's it. Because similarly, you know, it becomes too much. And you do get to know people, and then you're up there thinking, am I doing this from memory, or am I doing this because I'm linked in? So yeah, 1, possibly 2 engagements a year. And some people have commented on that, and that's fine. It's absolutely fine. I don't mind. You can say what you like, love. But I don't want to be in that, oh, here we are, we're back again, you know, because every time we go in now, I want to be in that fresh mode. I want to be in that, you know, I don't know a lot of what's going on or the people in there. So I know that I need to be really on the ball. I really need to have that triumvirate on the flow here and go for it. So lovely, lovely Maggie Baker, who's a medium secretary. Yes, I totally
agree. Praise.
It is very difficult. It is difficult, Maggie. We do appreciate that. We appreciate, you know, you've got a huge list and it needs filling. But sometimes, you know, from the medium's point of view, it's things like transport, getting there, their own commitments, you know, and this, excuse the pun, is striking that happy medium between, you know, the supply and demand.
Yes. Is that maybe the cause? You know, if we were to find one reason why this can begin to go wrong from the medium's perspective, is it this constant draw on their abilities because there aren't enough good quality mediums coming through the system who either come through too quickly, you know, after 3 12-week courses or 4 12-week courses or 5 years of mentorship and get nowhere? You know, are we those who are training these new mediums, are we the ones that are not giving them the tools they need to be selective? What do you think?
Yeah, training is a passion of mine, and it seems to have got stinted. The open platform situation. This is a question. Anybody watching on here, if you've got a comment, please put it in there. We stopped doing the open platform here at Poole, and a few people commented locally saying, well, why aren't you doing? Why aren't, you know, how do we get new mediums? And I said, well, how many new mediums have come from the open platforms in the last 5 years? And the answer was 1. And I'll be honest, it probably wasn't the best of the crop, as being polite. But the ego wasn't sufficient to drive that launch going on. It's a very hard area, but I think and especially now, I was working in a different town recently, and it was very interesting to hear stories of attendances and various issues going on. And I just came away and thinking, yeah, we really are not in a very good state here, because what they were saying was reflected what I'm hearing from other areas, what I'm seeing in our own area, and spiritualism in general in the UK. And it's very much of declining numbers. very much of I've got somebody on tonight, so I don't care what they're like.
Yeah.
So as long as I've got somebody on, that's
full
fine.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah. This is our format, and it's interesting. I've seen a couple of places now changing their formats of their services, and I really applaud that, because we're starting to bring in a little bit of leeway. And instead of, well, this is the service, this is what we always do, and we do this twice a week, so everything's got to fit around that. They're actually starting to look at different formats for services, and maybe not reducing the reliance on having an evidential medium there. Because you must always remember, the term mediumship is generic. You can have a wonderful speaker,
Yes.
wonderful inspirational speaker come in and deliver an awesome gathering without the need to, I've got your mother here.
Yeah. And healing as well. And educating the young, and caring for the needs of the elderly within a community environment, which I know at Poole you're very keen, especially during lockdown and at Christmas. You create a community which gets their needs fed on so many levels. But if we only supply the one thing, the evidence, then that's all the congregation will expect from us. We have to lead that compendium of spiritualist activities so that everybody can, and then you will begin to find that actually there are skills in your community which you can harness. This isn't all a matter about giving all the time. This is a matter of, we've got this, but who can join us in this journey? I know there's a big difference between volunteering and co-option. And I often feel these words are used incorrectly. But there are often people who would volunteer if the environment was right in order to provide. Because I remember being asked once what was the most important thing about any group. And I said, and I was actually talking about the SNUI at the time, which some of you will know about, the international branch of the SNU. And I said, it's about community. Once you have created that community, you then reach them on so many levels. But if you're only reaching them on the mediumship ticket, it's going to fail.
Yeah.
It's not self-sustaining anymore, is it?
No. And I think to a degree, this is part of what we're seeing in the UK. It's very interesting because we've got the UK market, and we've got the European and American market. The UK market for Dems of mediumship, all right, we have the odd one, there's a big publicity, big drive, and got numbers in there. But the actual day-to-day backbone of spiritualism in the UK is not in a very good way at the moment. It really isn't, because it's been upheld by dem on dem on dem on dem.
Yeah.
And very little else. Now, today's world, it's an ugly world out there. We can make no bones about it. It is a very ugly world out there. And although it's very nice to hear that your grandmother or your mother or whatever is there comes a limit of, I know they're there, but what about me? What's going on? What is happening? The European, the American market, totally different approach. They're very eager and very questioning about things, very engaging. And it's just got this freshness and this life to it that I'm not seeing so much in the UK.
But all their evangelical churches are based on community. That's the driving force. It's not, you'll come and you will witness somebody on a platform and then you'll go away again. That's just the start. I remember when I was growing up, I grew up as a Catholic, and there was a wonderful church in Twickenham, just outside London. And we had this fantastic priest, And it was a brand new church. The back of the church opened, and there was a bar in the back of the church. I know, wonderful for an Irish Catholic family, wasn't it? But this was to encourage people to stay on, to talk, to express their feelings, to share, to feel part of the community, not just to say, well, we've delivered your product, now you can go away again. And I do firmly believe, and it's getting back to this thing about ego, that if we can understand that our needs can be met on so many different levels, and that is not just the needs of the community that we are trying. I hate that. I'm sorry, but you know I hate the word serving. Being of service too. I just, that's just my pet hate, and I'm sure there'll be lots of people going, oh, can you say you can't say that? But I prefer being of service too, because I feel that much more shows a choice. It's not a demand. But if we are doing that, then we begin to empathize with people on so many different levels. And when we can connect on all those different levels, realizing that there are people in the same position as we are, that we can help intuitively, that we have a skill set that we can share, somehow ego doesn't happen because we're not performing. We're actually sharing our experiences. We're sharing this gift, and I give to you, you receive, and I can see how that's affecting you. And I could see that when I contacted this lady after, and we talked for about an hour. And it wasn't another reading. It was just about sharing our experience, because we actually had very similar experiences on many levels. And she said, I can't believe I'm hearing this. And I said, well, I can't believe I'm actually sharing with you exactly what I'm sharing. That's what made the magic of that one word that I shared, that I probably wouldn't have done if I had been thinking more, well, if I had filtered it differently. That's when the magic connects, when that connection becomes true, a spiritual experience.
If you run a successful business, I mean, part of a successful business is networking.
Yes.
You know, which is another word for community.
Yes.
So, yeah, you know, we bring in this community feel. We allow people to be part of it. We include people in what we do. And it is this networking, and it's an invaluable, invisible asset to what we do. We need to go over to the comments here, because people have been wonderful tonight. So thank you. Lovely Jamie. And he's asking, there must also be such a thing as medium burnout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Conversation.
Yeah, absolutely right about that. And it can happen quite spontaneously and have nothing to do with the mediumship that you're trying to share. It can be just, you're just vulnerable. Yeah, absolutely, Jamie. We've all been there.
Yeah. Lovely Sherry Ann over in France with the thunderstorms. Could you keep them over there, please, darling?
We just have the rain.
I think we've got one building here. It's starting to get really... and she's asking, should mediums be churned out like clones? What is the answer to show each one's individuality?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, in order to meet the demand, we are producing them. And people are being led to believe that there isn't an apprenticeship in this. This can be, you know, you buy the product off the shelf and then the next day you're qualified because you bought the certificate. Yeah, it's an apprenticeship. And even Gordon Higginson was saying it's an apprenticeship. He may not have used those words, but that's what he was suggesting. And it's all part of your own development as an individual. So, yeah, this is why we've got to find a different dynamic to work with, because we are breeding egos if we continue the same way.
Yeah.
Fortunately. So we're churning them out like clones, and these clones are
So Sherry Ann, it's what is the answer to show each one's individuality? By allowing people in their development, instead of saying, no, you should do it like this, allowing that expression, we've got to have guidelines. We've got to have guidelines, language, presentation, what is a public topic and what is a private sitting topic. There are fundamentals there, but the way people connect to the spirit and working with them rather than trying again to bring in these, no, if you do it like that, you're going to go wrong. If you keep saying that, we're installing all these barriers from the word go.
Well, I know that you've been very, very keen over the last year to consider the more rounded medium, developing those aspects of the self, which will encourage this humility, respect, honoring the trade. And I'm in talks at the moment with Veronica Jenkins about producing something. It's very early stages, but talking about the shadow self, the ethical self, and the spiritual self, and all those elements actually coming in to being the framework for producing the next generation of mediums. It's not just about the message.
Yeah.
It's got to be about the personal work and development, and it's got to be about recognizing the sacred gift. So the sacred, what we're calling it, the sacred. She and I are discussing titles at the moment, but the sacred, the ethical, and the shadow self, and working with all three of these elements to create this more rounded new generation of mediums.
Yeah, very important.
Oh, hello, Anne-Marie. I'll say it because you're coughing. Hello, both. I've been listening last 20 minutes and have to go in 10 minutes. I so agree. I believe that when we divide the service in equal parts, we will start to win. 1/3 healing, 1/3 address, 1/3 mediumship, outside posters, etc. That way people don't come for the main show mediumship. They come for the full service. Lovely chat. Thanks a lot. Well, yeah, absolutely. I think we've just got to rewrite the textbooks, really. And it's only from those with the experience of why the current system isn't working that can influence the next generation and be part of that process of teaching a more rounded medium. And in becoming the more rounded medium, we'll also become the more rounded person ourselves. And that may be of keeping ego to its, I know Anne-Marie is really keen on delivering the address. And you need a little bit of bravado in order to deliver it appropriately. You can't be a little frightened, mouse when it comes to talking on. So yeah, it's. But then a lot of that comes from a confidence, and not a confidence which is bred from ego, but a confidence which is bred from knowing your craft.
Yeah.
And that's what's missing today. There isn't that confidence in knowing your craft, that you've served your apprenticeship, that you've listened to the great and the mighty, that you've taken from it what you want, that you've actually moved away from what doesn't serve you as an individual, because everybody's style isn't going to serve your own, that you've been drawn to people who you feel are like-minded, you've been drawn to tutors who will move you along to a certain phase or state, and then happily move you to someone else. I mean, this isn't a lifelong commitment to one student. I've been very grateful, but I have seen the very natural breaks as I've moved from one tutor to the next, where I've got as much from one as I can. And then normally I've been kicked out, I meant metaphysically speaking, and moved on to another group. There have been a couple of occasions when.
Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, for sure.
So it's creating the more rounded, disciplined medium who understands their craft and then respects both where it's coming from and how they're going to share it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that formula, Anne-Marie. That is really good, because we have got so much more to offer. But going back into the past, it was always the healing. That irritates me, that term, the healing. Would be done, behind closed doors or out of public gaze and things. invariably you would get the talk when you turn up to serve a new church. Only 10 minutes for your philosophy because they only want to hear the messages. And I used to say, have you spoken to they? Have you actually asked these people this, or is this just your summarization? Or are you just allowing yourself to be steered by a very small minority? And this is quite often the case.
Yeah.
We have very small
committee, perhaps. Maybe the committee.
Yeah. Well, no, even there, you can be steered by a very small minority, but very vocal in the church.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that get the ear of everybody. The other out of 20 people, 3 people, oh, don't like that. We're not doing that anymore. Excuse the weird accent, but this is also the cold and whatever it is coming in. And this is starting to sound like Barry Manilow now. This is Barry White. I keep saying Barry Manilow. But moving on, Lawrence, come on. And this is without the cough syrup.
You're losing yourself, Laura. Get back. Get back to the theme.
I need more Benylin.
Or other cough syrups are available.
Yeah. But yeah, it is interesting because I am seeing that other churches, other centres are starting to experiment. They are starting to do different things. There's one church down in Weymouth and they do a community meal instead of a service. Like the American style, everybody brings a dish. Oh, I think that's great.
Yes.
I think that's awesome.
Community again.
Yeah.
That's the strength. They're the people who come to see you regularly. Then give them something back. Make them feel important. I think some of the most wonderful discussions I hear are when I go in early into these small circles. And many of them there may not be more than a dozen people on these. And they have the most wonderful community spirit online. They're small groups. They all know each other's businesses. If one's sick, they all get flowers or cards or whatever. And, this chat that they have before is like the meeting in the entrance hall to the church. How are you doing this week? What's happened to you? Oh, is that your aches and pains? And although I try and keep out of it, because obviously that's going to affect, you've not been well this week. Oh, take care of yourself, It's just wonderful to hear this community coming through. And these small groups are so like the original circles where they would have had a cup of tea afterwards or a cake after they visited somebody's home or they were in small groups. And the spirit world isn't deserting these small groups because they are allowing often the quality of the mediums are not put off by these small groups. Oh, I'll only go to, again, ego coming in, I'll only go to a service if there's 100 people there. I'm not going to waste my time. But that's where the healing often happens. As I said before, it's often in these smaller groups where somebody will get a message and you'll see half the congregation nodding, going, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's what you need to hear at the moment because we know X, Y, and Z about you. And you can see the love that's being shared and that feeling of, this is what you need to hear, and we will respect that time that's being given to you. If you've got 100 people in a room, it's difficult to respect one person getting a message when 99 people aren't.
Yeah.
When 10 or maybe even 15 people who know each other and go there week after week and are really loyal to that group, when someone gets a message, they all share in the healing that message is delivering. That I find, if you can open up to that I find absolutely astounding. But it can be easily missed if you allow it to.
I had that very experience just recently. I just said to this lady, oh, this is your sister stepping in. And the minute I said that, a small gathering, small group, that everybody went, wow.
Because they knew who she was. They knew her.
Yeah. And it was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that somebody? Is that somebody coming in?
No, it's all right. It's Anne-Marie. She's just seen the logo. And it mirrors actually what she's saying about her service, the mediumship, philosophy and healing. So yes, please borrow it, Anne-Marie.
Like mine. I thought I'd heard it somewhere else before, that this another example of the triumvirate, if that's the right use of the word, this equal division, allowing where 3 is better than 1. I mean, that's a really important number in religion, isn't it? The 3.
Mm.
I wonder why.
Yeah. It's probably all our minds can contain, isn't it? It's the 3 words: hands, face, face. From moving away from that subject very quickly. Lovely Marion.
Oh, hello, Marion. I know Marion from old.
Amazing photos. I love Marion's photos.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes.
They're really good. And she's saying here, it's my balance that's important. 2 services a month, giving time to family and myself too. Recently, hubby has been quite poorly. I've had to step back from running the weekly circle and serving churches. Hopefully I can resume soon, but I know Spirit will support me until that time. Comforted by my trust and knowledge in Spirit, and that I don't walk alone. I don't. Beautiful.
That is beautiful. And I'm sorry that things have been tough for you, but I know how you mean, because my husband has had a bit of a health scare recently. It was interesting how everything quietened down for me, so that I didn't have to try and feel that I was juggling too many balls at one time. And the Spirit world do look after us. I've noticed that too. So I hope everything gets back to a new normal for you, whatever that might be. Bless you. We used to meet often at Cambridge Church. I would think getting on for 20 years ago, Marion, 15 to 20 years ago. Yeah, we go back a long way. Bless her.
Excellent. And you can just tell with Marion as well, she's what I call, please don't take offence at this, anybody, but she's what I call proper spiritualist.
With a big S.
Yeah, the West Country, proper.
That's it.
Lovely Maggie Baker. I think it's very sad there are a lot of mediums out there who don't understand that healing is given to both the communicator and the recipient. They feel it is just for the recipient. How sad.
Yeah.
And
there is this thought too that, when you, does mediumship drain you? No. I've never found it's draining. I usually find I'm absolutely buzzing.
Same with healing.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, when I give healing, I'm so drained afterwards," and I'm saying, "Well, you're doing magnetic healing then." Simple as that. Which is wonderful if you've got the energy to give. If you haven't, then
yes.
I suggest you pack it in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's always enough to fill us. Oh, bless you.
So, returning to the topic of the ego.
Oh, yes. That's it. We had gone off.
Yes.
We had gone off a little bit, haven't we? But that's what happens with discussions. They morph.
Yeah, and I love it. I love that people are putting in and talking. Oh, we've got a fan. There we go. Wise words, Angela. Lovely to listen to you. Lovely to listen to you this evening. Okay. Yeah,
I do try, Helena. It's difficult to rein in at times. I do try, like, But Helena, I'll pay you afterwards, all right?
Yeah. Again, the community again, isn't it, in action? Mm-hmm. But yeah, the ego side. We do need an ego, to stand up in front of any people, any group of people. It's not everybody's natural environment.
Yeah.
So to actually be able to stand up there and work earnestly, not for yourself, certainly not for the money, and just the total reward is going out knowing that you and the team have done a good job.
I think if we can be known because we can be respected, rather than that we are a good or a bad medium, I think respect has to be earned. And I think if it's shared by those who know and understand what you're trying to do, And that, they say you're only as good as your last demonstration. Well, that shows there's no respect from the audience. Because I think if they do understand you, then they will go with you whatever, and they can sense it. I mean, we're very good at sensing energies in people, aren't we? And I know that you've come back from certain places and gone, I'm not going there again because the energies aren't good. And we can't maintain that energy shift on our own. However much we think we like to completely convert a group of people, if they are there set in their ways, and we can't, then it's about, we will not suit everybody all of the time.
No, exactly.
But if we can earn that respect, then, and people understand what we've gone through to get there, the many years that you and I have been doing this, that Marion has been doing this, that Anne-Marie has been doing this, the battles she's fought both on a personal and a professional level to prove that we understand and respect our craft, then I think that can be rewarded by the spirit world with taking us further. They will take us further. We had a discussion before we came on, and it was a question I asked was, do they really care? Are they really bothered about ego? If we get the job done, are they bothered? And you actually said you asked this question of the spirit world, didn't you?
Yeah. I asked them on the line of, do you ever get tired of people who've been going to churches and centres and sittings for 10, 15, 20 years and just keep getting message after message after message? Do you not get tired of that? And the answer was, very simply, we give. And I got that. They're saying, we're here, we're going to keep giving. We don't care what you do.
I do wonder sometimes, yes, absolutely.
Care what you do. It's up to you. It's your choice. This is our part of and this fits in with my narrative about giving and receiving. Once you give something, it's no longer yours. So, like if you give a homeless person a £5 and people say, they're going to spend it on drugs, I don't care. I'm giving them a £5 in the hope that they're going to do something for themselves. Whatever they do with it is entirely up there. It's their business. It's not mine. It's no longer mine. I've given it. And once I've given it, I have no rights or holds or any construct on how what I've given is to be used.
I suppose the greatest example of that is parents bringing up their children. You give everything you can with the best intention, but if you produce a child who doesn't make use of the gifts and opportunities, you can't blame yourself. I mean, I do know there's a big argument about nature and nurture, but your average parent will often see examples in their children. You go, excuse me, where did that come from? That was not something that we showed them. But you have to cut the apron strings. And it's a bit like that with everything that we do. We can only do our best and hope that it falls like the seed in the Bible, that it takes root. And we have no idea at the time we deliver any healing, any philosophy, any mediumship, where and how it's going to take fruit. And whether it'll fall on stony ground or on fertile soil, we have no idea. And that we have to respect the spirit world to do their work. Once we deliver that message, which we do with honesty and integrity, we then have to pass over the responsibility to them to carry on the work in however that need. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah's just saying, Sarah Devil saying she's listening in the car. Bless her. That we have no idea how and where that message will take root, or if it ever will, or if it's something that's going to be changed and used for a different purpose. But as you say, once you give it away, you have to let it go. You have to let it go.
I'm sorry about the background noise. I've got the police helicopter hovering over me.
We knew.
Yeah, they saw me today in London. That's what it is. Anyway, Helena Breen saying it's like Silver Birch. If we can heal one person and make a difference in their life, it has been worth it. Yeah, very true.
And sometimes you get to hear the results of that, but a million times out of one less than a million out of a million, then you won't know cause and effect. We have, as some of you will know, we have recently had come back into the family lives 2 cousins who we knew about them, but they didn't know about us. And to be honest, they think they're gaining everything from coming back into this family dynamic, which for good reason they were not made aware of. They have only beginning to understand the healing that them coming back into the family has done for other members of the family. And one of the examples I want to quote is the fact that my sister and I are now communicating after 12 years of really having no communication, and to be honest, not much before that. We have no idea how one event can spark a whole journey, a whole, it's almost like the dominoes. We have no idea how to strike. So because we can't quantify that effect, we have to trust. That's when we trust the spirit world to be doing what they do. They can see the plan that we can't see. They can see the whole picture where we've got tunnel visions and we can only see part of it. When I was in trance a couple of weeks ago, I was very aware of looking through a camera lens, and I saw part of a jug, just the outline of the jug. So I moved my focus, because you wouldn't normally do that, would you? You'd only take in what you actually see. I moved my focus to include this jug, and there was this beautiful snake inside the jug. Now, unless I had moved my focus and seen this gorgeous bejeweled snake, I would have no idea that the snake contained that jewel. I would have just seen it as an empty jug. And this is what happens, I think. And one thing we have to be very careful of as mediums is that we understand that we are part of a dynamic that involves more than us. That we're just a small part of what might be happening on a much bigger scale. And whether it's like this young man my cousin who wanted to find out more about the Irish side of his family because he wants an Irish passport, suddenly finding that there is this whole group of cousins and cousins' children and stories about grandparents. And he said, the biggest thing was knowing that you had pictures of me as a child that I didn't know anything about. That you showed me these pictures and say, this is you as a baby. And I personally went to his parents' wedding. I was quite young at the time. We have no idea how one little incident can then spark this journey of discovery that can heal on so many levels, just as we don't know when we give that one message with respect and honesty and humility and love and honoring our craft. We have no idea what it's going to deliver or grow into as a result of it. Yeah, the ripple effect. And so absolutely the ripple effect. You can't throw a stone into water without it affecting the whole pond. You're absolutely right. And I think if we understand that we're just a small piece of that bigger circle, of that bigger dynamic, then that will keep us grounded. That will keep us grounded. What do you think, Laurie?
No, I agree 100% there.
Are you up to reading Jamie?
Yeah, so Jamie Williamson, and he's saying when we are talking about ego, we are really talking about the two sides of the same coin, overvaluing or undervaluing our contribution to the message.
That's a really interesting thought. I love analogies like that where I can visualize them. So thank you for that, Jamie. You're absolutely right. It can go both ways. It's not just about overvaluing something and becoming to excess. It's also about inadequacies and underutilizing this energy and this power. So yes, and undervaluing it. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, good way to put it. I shall remember about the two sides of the same coin. And which one are you flipping?
Very true. Angela, thank you. It's been absolutely delightful.
Termination.
Yeah, time. Ding ding. Last orders. No, it's been Brilliant again to be back in your company like this and
Thank
talk.
you. I've enjoyed it. And everybody else's too. Lovely to meet
Yes.
back with old friends. Yeah. Yeah.
Hold on, we've just got one late one. Oh, that's right.
Oh, Valerie.
Very quickly come in. Yes, there's never one way with spirit. You never know what one small message can do for so many people. So much healing to those who have.
You have no idea about. But for the medium, you can think you're getting the message wrong. Nothing is ever wasted in the universe. Absolutely right. Nothing is ever wasted. And we don't know what resonance it will resound on either, or what song it will create, or what tune it will create, and what might be difficult for our ears to hear might actually be the song of, I was going to say the song of mermaids or the song of angels to someone else. So yes. And that's when often one message that's given to one person will actually resonate with another, although it wasn't directly meant for them. Yeah,
definitely. Absolute delight again to be talking with you. Must do this again sometime because we always have a good conversation.
We do always, even when we're on our own, we manage to put the world to rights.
Yeah, even with the police buzzing me, I'm beginning to think my photo might have been taken on the march today, so they're just chasing me up now. They could have chased me up when it took about 3.5 hours to get back from London, standing all the way with no toilets on the train. That would have been nice.
Oh, goodness me, that would have been
delightful journey. Anyway, thank you.
Policeman's helmet, apparently, Laurie.
Sorry, dear?
A policeman's helmet you can use, but only if you're pregnant. If you're pregnant, you can use a policeman's helmet. Did you know that?
Oh, right. Oh, okay. No, I didn't.
Stuff a pillow underneath your shirt. That'll work.
I shall remember that. I'm very glad I didn't feed up on coffee when I was up there, I can tell you. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you, everybody, for joining in as well. It's great to be included and to hear your thoughts. You can watch us live tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, where we have the Reverend Elaine Bevin will be leading our service. And hopefully I'll be chairing if I'm not going to get arrested very shortly. I have no idea what's going on.
Look on YouTube. Somebody's bound to have been filming it. Well, next door, we have something called Next Door locally that gives out all.
Yeah. They're very low. Must be after the cat. The cat's done something. Either that, or I've got somebody banging at the church door claiming sanctuary. That'd be interesting. So
you're out. You're busy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, don't manifest it. Try not to.
Be careful what you jest. Yes.
Exactly. Anyway, everybody, have a wonderful evening wherever you are. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. So good night, everybody.
Night all.